Hello, what is up guys? Jinxin here again. And today I'll be showing you guys my new Dark Blighter build that I sort of finished making for the past few days. It'll be mainly focused on damage over time and self buffs. So you won't be seeing me using any of the higher damaging dagger skills. And it's also a personal reference since I don't really like how the dagger skills look with its slashing attacks pairing with Juan's magic stuff. So for this build in particular, I think it looks better without them. I know that a lot of people will dislike this build because of how inefficient it seems, but personally I think it's pretty fun to do like a damage over time focused build. I prioritize wisdom first until I reach the 50 wisdom bracket for the cooldown reduction, and then I put the rest into perception for the 50 bracket, as well as strength for its 750 health bracket. With this build, you will have above 10,000 health, which would help you survive against certain attacks or mechanics like the Arbiter at Death's Abyss if you have your invincible barrier up. I also think this would be enough wisdom and perception to be comfortable with damage skills and buff skills down times, since you will have long enough buff duration to complete your combos most of the time. So for this build, I chose the Darkslayer Dagger instead of Laquirus Thorn, since I want more survivability so that I can swap my Garb of Resistance into Divine Justicar attire. You can get the Darkslayer Dagger from Silius Abyss on floor 5 and 6 from Demon Hoof Trackers, or you can get them from the Blue Allied Resistance contract scrolls, which will give you one of those purple pouches on completion. And then, for Justicar attire, you can get it from the Cornelius Field Boss at either Guild Raid or Silius Abyss on 3rd floor. I personally would just save up Lucent and buy it from the auction. I also recommend going for Decorated Champion Crown since it gives you a pretty decent amount of wisdom as well as mana recovery. And plus, you can easily upgrade the cooldown reduction trait since it's a blue gear. If you don't want to spend Lucent to buy this, you can get it from the Wandering Soul mobs at Silius Abyss on the 4th floor. And for those who don't know how to get them to spawn, you just need to find one of those floating light that says Wandering Soul. And then you find a spirit armor nearby the area and try to reduce its health down to below half, and the soul will automatically turn into the mob when it goes by. As for my gloves, pants, and shoes, I chose the Mysterious Sage set for the 3-piece set effects, as it gives me 5% cooldown reduction, and at the same time, each piece of armor also gives me wisdom and perception, which are the core stats for this build. For the gloves and pants, you can get them from Hydromancers as well as Pyromancers at Sanctum of Desire, and they are also included in the purple pouch that you get from the blue contract scrolls. Do keep in mind that they consume about 50 abyssal tokens for each kill, so I suggest just going for those 2 mobs and ignore the others. And as for the shoes, you can get it from Charging Ants at Ant Nest. And even though they don't consume as much abyssal tokens, I still suggest going solely for them, just so you can save up tokens for better spot like Sanctum or Sorodoma Island. You can get Sapphire Ring by using 10 of each boss's Dimensional Soul Shard to craft 1 Dimensional Essence, which then you can use to craft the Precious Accessory Box, which contains the ring and another ring that you can pick. As for the other ring, I'm currently using the Alabaster Band because it's the best one I can get at the moment, but if possible, I suggest going for the Cold Iron Band from Wandering Soul, which is the same mob that drops the Decorated Champion Crown. And lastly, for belt, you can just use whatever, since most of the belts that has attribute in it are very rare and expensive on auction. As for skills, I only use 2 dagger skills, which are Inject Venom and Knife Throwing, since it's the only ranged skill in the kit. I also chose the 2 crit passives from Dagger, since crit helps with your heals as well as your damage over time. Although, keep in mind that when you use your damage over time skills, crit will only take the first hit into account. So, like if your first hit crits, then the rest of your damage over time will also take the increased crit damage passive into account. As for Inject Venom, the poison damage will always reapply whenever you hit your enemy, so you don't have to worry about pre-buffing or anything, as long as you remember to always cast the skill. So with that being said, your combo starts with Touch of Despair, Enchanting Time, Fighting Spirit, Janus's Rage, and then Inject Venom, Ray of Disaster, Knife Throwing, Decaying Touch into Touch of Despair again, and then Curse Explosion into second cast of Inject Venom. This is your opener combo on pretty much anything to stack your poison as fast as possible before using Curse Explosion. I actually don't really care for Curse Explosion damage much, since my main focus this time is to get my damage over time to max stacks as fast as possible. Moving on to the second combo, you just need to make sure to use Enchanting Time as well as Fighting Spirit before reapplying Curse of Despair into Decaying Touch, and then Curse Explosion last. As for Inject Venom and Ray of Disaster, you just need to use them whenever their cooldowns are over, but you don't need to use Knife Throwing if your poison stack is at 20. And in case if you guys want more like a multi-target setup, you can go with this one instead, just by taking away Focus Target from Curse Explosion and Mana Recovery from Swift Healing. And then you can spend the points on Touch of Despair's Radius Increase and Ray of Disaster's Target's Expanded Specialization. The nice thing about Ray of Disaster's Target Expanded is that you can hit multiple other targets with it if you line them right. And then you use Inject Venom so that the Ray would apply poison on the enemies for you. As for Weapon Mastery, I chose the Damage Tree for Wand and Assassination for Dagger, since those two gives the most benefit towards damage over time skills.